The Less Wrong posts we have this week start out with The Wonder of Evolution. I think...
Can I please read the first couple of lines of this?
Absolutely.
The wonder of evolution is that it works at all. I mean that literally. If you want to marvel at evolution, that's what's marvel-worthy. How does optimization first arise in the universe? If an intelligent agent designed nature, who designed the intelligent agent? Where is the first design that has no designer? The puzzle is not how the first stage of Bootstrap can be super clever and super efficient. The puzzle is how it can happen at all. And then evolution resolves the infinite regression by not being super clever and super efficient, but by being stupid and inefficient and working anyway. This is the marvel. And yes, it is.
When I was taking notes out of this, I basically only took out the first line and the last line, and I was like, that's basically the entire post. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like as I put it before we started recording, evolution, we hate it. It's bad. But it's real. We're not saying it's not real. We just don't like it very much. Stop saying it's great.
Yeah. It's like watching a janky-ass, hammered together duct tape hit car. You're like, how the fuck does this work? It's amazing that it works.
Yeah,
it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, it's remarkably good for how, like, it's doing everything brainlessly. Mm-hmm. But it's for me, the whole post was just fun because it kind of, like, carbon dates the era in which it was written.
That's what I pulled out too.
Oh, nice. Did you?
I think so.
The whole,
evolution does not explain the origin of life comment?
Oh, no, I just meant, yes, I made the carbon date joke as an evolution reference, but this was written, 2007, 2008?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so kind of right when all this fun conversation was happening. I don't know if people are still debating evolution and creation online.
No, the atheism wars seem to have gone away. I don't know. Maybe there are somewhere and we're just not in that scene anymore.
They are, but they've taken, like, the back seat to
the culture wars
all
are the
other
big thing.
culture war stuff.
Yeah.
But, like...
God, I'm glad I grew up during the atheism wars. That sounded like a lot more fun.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. I loved it.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's, like, why I always had an issue with, like, wanting to put an evolution fish, for example, on my car. Like, they have, the Jesus fish, and then the evolution fish just says evolution and has feet on it, and I always thought that, like, oh, that's funny, but also I don't want to say that I'm, like, in support of evolution, because I don't, if I were in charge, I'd totally get rid of this terrible system. I'm not trying to say that, like, no, God is stupid. Evolution is what's great. Evolution sucks.
It's almost more shallow and vapid than, like, just putting, like, a Biden sticker on your car. Because at least that is like, yeah, I can get behind this guy because I have to. But, if you're putting a Darwin fish on your car, all you're saying is, like, I'm pro-science. And it's like, that's great, but come on.
I personally like the sticker because it was, saying, hey, I'm on the atheism side in the atheism wars. And I never did that, but I did get the scarlet letter A patch that I put on my backpack, which was, my way of signaling what side I'm on.
I've actually never put a bumper sticker of any kind on my car because I'm worried about somebody, like, just damaging my car out of hate. I've seen this happen so many times.
That's my thing. I haven't had bumper stickers on in 10 years, and I like it. And the car looks cleaner, but...
The main reason I haven't had bumper stickers on is because I've been told many, many, many times that I drive like an asshole, and I don't want people to see a bumper sticker for something I like and then be like, oh, assholes support that thing. I like that thing less now.
Or then to be able to spot your particular car at a parking lot versus like another, similar make and model.
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone's going to be like memorizing my car and chasing me down. I don't like intentionally cut people off or anything. I'm just like slightly more aggressive on the road than the idiots who... Never mind. I have opinions on how people should drive, and that it is too slow and stupid usually.
I have the opinion that nobody should drive, and we should just have robot cars already, please.
I mean, yesterday we were driving to the Renaissance Festival, and the dude driving was just staying in this slow lane. I'm like, the right lane, it's right there. It's been going faster than us for 2 miles. Why are you not in the right lane?
You could zen out and watch the episode of Mythbusters where they do traffic myths, and they do like a 4-hour stretch of highway down California, and... It's not, they only have like 4 drivers. They can't do it over and over. But the time difference between picking a lane and sticking with it and swerving lanes was negligible.
Yeah.
I know.
Negligible,
but
not negligent.
It feels better. Maybe,
exactly.
But,
that's the thing.
But then I just like, I find the right speed. I'm usually a little over the speed limit. I'm in the fast lane. But then you just chill out and enjoy the ride.
No, I'm not
I go
a chill
about 5
dude.
over generally, and like I just... stick it on cruise control.
Yeah.
I'm a chill dude in many respects. I'm not a chill dude when I'm trying to get somewhere because I feel every minute in a car is just a waste of my life waiting to get where I actually want to be.
Put on podcasts.
Yeah, or like do some like mindfulness meditation maybe.
No.
No?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to zen out in the middle of a traffic thing and then kill someone.
Well, you're not gonna kill someone.
yeah, you
you're
don't
probably
need-
gonna kill someone more by driving aggressively than not. But I realize
I'm
we're
going to
really
kill
off topic.
I'm going to kill multiple minutes of my life sitting in a car when I could be going a little faster.
See-
But you're right, we are off topic.
No, it's fine. I listen to podcasts, or there's random things turning in my head that are on the back burner. Like, all right, yeah, let's filter some of these out. What have you been working on back of my brain? And
I learned to drive before podcasts were a thing, so I guess I have
So
old
did I.
habits ingrained. Okay, well, you learn faster than I do, apparently.
I had years of jobs where I drove for a living, and I realized that the difference between
Right.
like just gunning it and trying to make every light and going around every slow person and then just taking it easy
That
was
just
like
stresses you out so much more when you're
yeah.
caring about all that shit.
And when I was delivering pizzas through college, it was like 90 seconds of difference, and I'm like, oh, I can just be super chill and I get there in about the exact same amount of time. This is perfect.
You had to come to peace with it.
Yeah.
I also have my like 2 dead friends from car accidents,
Yeah.
and my time doing volunteer EMS and just scraping people off the side of the road, where I was just like, look, trying to get there 90 seconds faster results in this.
Yeah, all right.
Good God. Yeah, that's intense. I
Is
couldn't
this
handle
really
it.
worth your own and other people's life or the damage of like property? It's not.
This
Calm
is
the
why
hell down.
I want my next car to be a fully self-driving car.
We're gonna look back
Me too.
bizarrely at the time where like they used to let monkeys drive cars.
Yeah, what the
For
hell
real.
were they thinking?
Humans were not made to go 75 miles an hour. We can't even
No.
comprehend things at that speed. We didn't evolve for this.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of
That's
evolution,
why highways are optical illusions.
Nice segue. The
Oh, wait, I have a. Can I ruin that segue with a random?
Ruin
well,
it.
It's already too late.
but
So.
you need to do
optical
it.
illusions, go for it.
You need a second one that
I was going to
segues
say,
back.
with regarding to your voluntary EMS, I was going to say I couldn't handle the carnage. Speaking of carnage, the trailer for the second Venom movie actually looks really good.
Oh my God.
The second what movie?
Venom?
Oh, I still need to watch the first one.
I mean,
Apparently,
I
it
heard
was
the
actually
first
pretty
one
good
was
as
such
long
a
as
pile of shit.
No, that's the thing. So, all right, real quick. I didn't want to go this long. I just wanted to say, let there be carnage. But so I anticipate the movie will be a train wreck because Venom was way better than it had any right to be.
What?
I don't know why it was good.
I heard
didn't.
it was bad.
I don't like what they did with Venom.
Okay.
But you just ignore that, and the movie was great.
Oh, so if you
like-
don't think of it as a Venom movie, just like as a random alien movie?
Think of it yeah, basically. So
Okay.
like, because to me, Venom has always been the anti-Spider-Man.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
the thing people
So
had a
you-
problem
you,
with.
You take
They took
Spider-Man out of it
context.
entirely and give Venom kind of a fresh take, and then it was really interesting and funny and good. And so if lightning can strike twice, Venom or Let There Be Carnage will be great. All right, that's
So is
longer
this
than I
actually going to be Venom versus Carnage?
or Venom and Carnage? I'm not quite sure. Probably some verses.
I think they were always versus. Like there was never. That's not true. There was probably some storyline where they had to team up for something.
They're baddies.
Yeah, but they're like
But they're not-
Venom is like possible anti-hero baddie, and like Carnage is just pure murder everything baddie.
Yeah, Carnage was the guy that the symbiote is possessing. There was a terrorist named Cletus Cassidy, and so he already was like, "Let's go kill people." Whereas Eddie Brock was just a reporter, who wanted
hated
to.
Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, what happens when you give a psychopathic terrorist super alien powers? Well, you're gonna get Carnage.
Cool.
Okay, well,
So the one thing that is not entirely related to this post, because we already covered the post, evolution, it's crazy that it works. But the thing that Stephen mentioned on was that it harps on, it reiterates the point made in the evolution wars when creationists and atheists were fighting. It reiterates the thing that evolution does not explain the origin of life. First replicator does not come from a replicator. Evolution describes statistical trends in replication. Basically goes over the whole thing, that the evolution doesn't need to explain the origin of life. It's a separate process from abiogenesis. And it just seems completely out of place reading this at this point in time, because it's like, who cares what this has to do with anything? But like when you read it at the time, it was absolutely like both necessary and expected that something like that would be in an article about the early origins of evolution. And like
it was nostalgic.
it was nostalgic. It also felt kind of weird that like that thing was such a big deal 20 years ago and now has basically disappeared. Like I wonder if the sequences were written nowadays, if instead of having some of this atheism stuff on it, if it would have culture war threads throughout it.
See, that's why I'm glad they happened when they did.
Yeah.
And I got off social media basically when the culture wars really kicked off in like 2015, 16. So
I think if they did, it would probably be a very light-handed touch because, science doesn't have too terribly much to say about culture, at least not nearly in the same way as evolution and creationism.
I think they'd find room to fight. I mean, it all like the culture wars did kind of shatter the skeptic and new atheism movements.
Yeah, but I mean, they shattered them specifically because you can't go and say, like, science shows this is how evolution works. You're an idiot creationist, It's much more fuzzy, more social sciencey, which is, squishy as it is.
I'd love to see a scientific take on the culture wars, but the thing is that, well, I think the whole problem with the culture wars is that it also coincided with cancel culture being a thing.
Right. If there was a scientific take,
dog.
the science would get canceled.
But, yeah, exactly. I mean, that I think is a lot of what's happening there.
Cancel science.
Like, I was catching up on some of the Mind Killer, and they were talking about, like, some transgender stuff, and then I was also just listening to... There's a Radiolab episode, the most recent one, I think, that is just called Gonads.
Oh, I haven't listened to Radiolab in going on 2.5 years now.
Yeah, they've been recycling some of their content. And...
Oh, that's good. Some of the older stuff.
Oh, that's good. I thought that was why you were going to say you hadn't listened to it.
No, because they did the same thing that pretty much every NPR show has done, except so far Planet Money. But even Planet Money has been starting to lean that way recently, and it's so bumming me out. The trend is just like everything is about anti-racism and whatever
about
the current culture war stuff is. Yeah, but, it's like why is Radiolab, which is ostensibly a science show, entirely about culture war things? So yeah,
I think they have a good take on culture war stuff, or at least they're able to also tackle here's what science has to say about this
the
thing.
Gonads episode was an older one, wasn't it?
It may have been a recycled one. Like
I think I remember listening to that one, and it was still pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was because the Olympics is happening now, and then they were like, here's the thing about the Olympics that we did a bit ago that's like still relevant, and it was basically there's a woman from India who's really good at running, and they did a gender test on her, or like they didn't really tell her, but they're just like, okay, we're gonna do a blood test.
Yeah, I remember this.
And then suddenly it was like, you're disqualified because you're really a man, and she's like, what the fuck? I was born female, raised as a female, like I seem to have female like sex characteristic. Like what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just hyperandrogenism, which is not even really a thing. Like I like that they do actually get into the science, and
yeah, that was an interesting.
It's just much more complicated. Like that as a transgender person, I get pissed off when there's so much sort of pushback from even like the people that ostensibly should be like quote unquote on my side, the left, but like people get real uncomfortable when you start talking about like actually there are biological bases for these things, or like we might not know all of them yet, but clearly there's like things that map to reality that like that causes and effects are happening, and maybe we could look at those to try to get a better understanding. And they're just like, oh no.
Well, and you
can't look at the science.
You who has a vested interest in science understanding this properly will never ye fear people who will be offended on your behalf of anyone investigating any of these questions, lest
I don't
anything
want
come
them
out.
to do that.
I know, but that's the
that's the bad thing.
Yeah, it's the funny bad part of it.
So like The Wonder of Evolution ends with, let us dispose of the idea that evolution is a wonderful designer or a wonderful conductor of species' destinies, which we human beings ought to imitate. Shudders. For human intelligence to try to imitate evolution as a designer would be like a sophisticated modern bacterium trying to imitate the first replicator as a biochemist. As T.H. Huxley, Darwin's bulldog, put it, quote, let us understand once and for all that the ethical progress of society depends not on imitating the cosmic process, still less in the running away from it, but in combating it.
Yarr.
Yarr.
We must kill God.
Huxley didn't say that because he disbelieved in evolution, but because he understood it all too well. And good. Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
I meant that arg in a agreeing sort of way, as if you're a pirate at the Renaissance. So.
You were just
still
at the
channeling,
Renaissance
the Renaissance.
So.
Yeah. It's been less than 12 hours for me. No, that's not true. Less than 24.
I haven't been to the Renaissance Fair yet. I gotta go this year.
It's really fun.
Yeah, I went last year. I had a great time.
Have you seen the Heroines in Disguise show?
No.
Oh, it's great.
Is it like trapeze artists doing stuff?
No. It's just 3 chicks being really raunchy, telling jokes, singing raunchy songs, that kind of shit.
Well, part of it's in the sky.
No, Heroines in Disguise.
Oh, in disguise.
Yeah.
I thought it was in the sky.
Yeah, right. Very similar sound. Maybe I mumbled my words too.
Nah, I probably heard what I wanted to hear, and I was picturing like 3 Wonder Women fighting in like on tight
rocket
ropes
boots.
or
Yeah.
Well, rocket boots would make it Renaissance Fair, but I could imagine like ropes or pulleys.
They had rockets during the Renaissance. They just weren't very good.
What?
The first space flight, wherever it was some Chinese emperor who like tied a whole bunch of fireworks to his throne and then ascended to the heavens.
No.
Yes.
He ascended straight to heaven by dying.
No.
Well, he disappeared.
That
the
sounds
sky.
awesome, and I'm gonna have to research this later because holy shit, that's great.
I remember hearing about this.
I really hope this isn't
Okay.
apocryphal, but like this is a thing I've heard of repeatedly, and I've always just found delightful.
We'll have to try and find any conclusive thing on it, because I've definitely heard the similar story, but I don't know how much of it is just like what made it into legend, right?
Google filled in
Wan Hu.
Chinese Emperor Rocket, and it filled in chair for me. So I was like, apparently it's a thing.
There we go.
But yeah, I'll read more about it later. That's fantastic.
I mean, if anybody says there was some historical figure that did this insane dumb thing, like my priors are probably.
Yeah, people were stupid. Checks out. All right.
See, I would have put one of my peasants, or paid one of my
Do you really want a
lord.
peasant to go to heaven before you?
How about one of the lords I didn't like?
There we go.
Again, the expectation was he was going to get to meet the gods, as opposed to.
I'd let him take the first ship, and then if it works, then I'd like, all right, well,
But
obviously,
what if he tucks up God before you get there, and like he's the real emperor when you get there, and you're like,
oh,
fuck.
yeah. I forgot they believed they might actually like get to God. I thought they were just trying to make cool stories like for their own mythos going forward. Yeah,
Well,
if they actually
that's a cool story for his mythos.
Yeah, but I figure
Hope
if
it was
it
worth it
worked,
for him.
then you just write him out of history because you're the emperor, and then you say you did it. Yeah.
I mean, would anybody remember Wan Hu if he hadn't done this?
Probably like
Not
people
very
that
well.
learn Chinese history. Maybe Chinese people if they are taught their history in school. I don't know.
I believe they are taught their history in school, but also it's very long, and there's the romance of the Three Kingdoms, and it's just
And it may be edited by the Communist Party for whatever makes them, look
That
best.
too.
So that's why I say if they're taught that.
Speaking of stupid ideas, like going to space in a chair.
What else is
attached to
stupid,
fireworks.
Steven?
Evolutions.
Nice. Evolutions are stupid, but work anyway is the next blog post. Steven, you started it. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, he opens by saying he pluralizes evolutions because there are, I'm paraphrasing him, but there are as many evolutions as there are species.
Yes.
That,
Like there's us, and there's octopi,
right.
and there's tardigrades. What the hell are tardigrades?
Predators, prey, there's, host versus infections and that sort of thing. So
Did you guys see the latest thing about tardigrades is that they can survive being shot? When I read this, I thought that they somehow managed to get these microscopic animals on a target and shoot them. But what they actually did was they made them the bullet, and then they shot them out of the gun, and they survived. So, like,
It doesn't surprise me.
sometimes evolution does a really great job.
yeah, but these things aren't doing anything cool. I mean, they're doing all kinds of cool
They're
shit
not
that
doing
we-
anything cool. They
we
survive
can
in the vacuum of
appreciate.
space, in acid, in like
Yeah, call me
boiling
when they
water.
build a computer and go to
Like,
the moon.
surviving is okay, I guess.
Surviving's tight. Don't get me wrong.
Like
but
just coming from the perspective of a very squishy human, we're terrible at surviving.
Yeah, but
Oh,
if you have to give up your brain to survive, I don't think that'd be worth it.
I think they have little proto brain things going on.
Yeah, they don't have a human brain. I'd have to give up my brain for a little proto brain, and that's not worth it. You might as well just kill me.
well, maybe we can work our way to tardigrade humanoid hybrids at some point, which just sounds horrible. But
It does.
Maybe to you.
luckily, evolution won't do it for us because evolutions are slow.
Yes.
I like how there was other phrase I meant to grab here about cross purposes of evolutions and stuff.
Fox evolutions work at cross purposes to rabbit evolutions.
Yeah, but then neither can talk to snake evolution to learn about how to build venomous fangs, because it would be great for either one of them, right? But that's just not how this works.
Yeah.
And because this isn't a long post,
On
so
a
I'll,
macro scale, anyway. Bacteria are really great at just, hey, you want a gene? I've got a gene.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
yeah, swapping around. What's fun is that most of like the way I learned evolution was from posts online. Like I don't think it was.
Yeah, right?
It wasn't like taboo in
I didn't-
school. I did have a good high school teacher that talked about it, but that was in like junior year of high school.
Yeah.
And so like I learned about the structure of the atom, way earlier on, and this is the structure of
Which
the
was
atom
wrong, by the
equivalent
way,
for biology.
because it was probably the ping pong ball.
It was the Bohr
like,
model, yeah, but I
yeah.
mean it was the workable model for an 8th grader,
Yeah,
right?
I guess, like, there are levels where there are different physics models or whatever models that sort of are simplified, not quite right, but get you moving in the right direction that I guess I don't unendorse.
Not to beat
I never learned the Einstein physics equations, but I learned the Newtonian ones, right? Because they're close enough for me getting around day to day.
Yeah. Not to beat a dead horse or anything, but this is yet another reason people don't need to go to high school and shouldn't be forced to, because the evolution you learn in high school doesn't stick, and if you're actually interested, you learn it at places other than high school.
I think it was fun because it felt like kind of like this thing was this big mysterious complicated secret, and then I bought a 300-something page book called The Greatest Show on Earth by Richard Dawkins.
Awesome.
And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I can explain evolution succinctly and I think adequately in a paragraph, but you did it great in a book and I loved it and I recommend it. But I was like, I thought this was some big, complex, mysterious controversial thing. No, couldn't be more straightforward.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, it's just, change over time.
Yeah.
And then, like,
The
stuff being selected or anti-selected for, and then that being what happens.
Limited resources, imperfect replication, and yeah.
Like, the minute I heard about the theory of evolution, and I was raised Roman Catholic, and God did it, and etc., and even, like, when I was taught evolution, I was taught it alongside,
Creationism?
the creationism disguised as science.
Intelligent
Yeah,
design.
intelligent design. They had to teach the controversy at my school. But the funny thing was the teacher, I could tell, was not into it. So sort of like she'd be talking about, here's the way that science thinks things work, and then I am mandated to tell you that some people think that God did it, and that's what happened, and I'm being forced to tell you this, and that is the thing that people think, and they can think what they want, I guess.
You won the lottery there. A lot of people get the other version of that, right?
I know. Well, I got both, but there was just the one particular year that I think that really stood out to me, mostly just because I was like sitting there trying not to giggle, as the teacher clearly was just sort of like had this face like she was holding a dead fish out at like length and trying to pretend that everything was fine, but there was this sort of like squinched up nose, like it was like I feel gross having to do this, and I was just like, yeah, you should.
I'm required to tell you that, and open quote this, and then all right, then we're gonna move on back to the real.
Now
thing.
we're gonna dissect some frogs anyway.
So
The next year, they were prohibited from saying that they have to say this. So it's like, I'm not being compelled to tell you. Sorry.
are you allowed to, I guess, I mean, you would be at that point lying because you are being compelled.
I think talking about an NDA, and this isn't an NDA, but there's I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm sure that if they pass something saying you can't say we're making you tell people this, it's like, okay, I won't say that you're making me tell people this. I'm definitely not being forced to tell you. Like, all right, take me to court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. He also says that evolutions are slow as part of this whole evolutions are stupid post.
How slow are they?
Suppose there's a beneficial mutation which conveys a fitness advantage of 3%, which is actually pretty darn good for a single mutation. On average, bearers of this gene have 1.03 times as many children as non-bearers, which is what 3% means. Assuming that the mutation spreads at all, how long will it take to spread through the whole population? Depends on the population size. A gene conveying 3% fitness advantage spreading through a population of 100,000 would require an average of 768 generations to reach universality in the gene pool, which is a lot.
It goes more into this equation, but I feel like it doesn't make good audio.
Yeah, and also points out a mutation that conveying a 3% advantage has a 6% chance of spreading, at least on that one occasion. In a population of 1 million, you may have to wait 100 generations for another chance, and then it still only has a 6% chance of fixating. So it's very slow.
Yeah, there's no evolution fairy who can watch the gene pool and say, that gene seems to be spreading rapidly. I should distribute it to everyone. And in a human market economy, someone who's legitimately getting 20% returns on investment, especially if there's an obvious clear mechanism behind it, can rapidly acquire more capital from other investors. Others will start duplicating those enterprises. Genes, though, have to spread without stock markets or banks or imitators. As if Henry Ford had to make one car, sell it, buy the parts for 1.01 more cars on average, sell those cars, and keep doing this until he was up to 1 million cars.
He also says that anything that requires previous genes to work is going to take even longer to go because if you need an allele B, which depends on allele A, you first have to wait for allele A being advantageous of itself and take 1,000 generations to fixate in the gene pool, and only then can allele B start rising to fixation. And again, would take another 1,000 generations. So just really, really, really slow.
Not so bad if you're a bacteria, but pretty bad if you're people.
Yeah,
All
if
right.
your generation is, a day or two.
My high school education is fading. Remind me the difference between an allele and a gene.
A gene is a single coding pair, right? Mm-hmm. And an allele is an actual combination of genes that has an effect on the organism. Yes?
Yeah, that seems right.
Okay.
So a gene would just be any base pair?
I believe so.
Maybe.
We
It
can look this up. An allele is definitely a combination of things that...
Yeah, it's sort of like it codes for a phenotype.
Yeah.
Which,
Oh, I can just look this up on my... Oh, no. Google Docs doesn't let me just do look up. Fine. Be that way,
should
phone.
we, timestamp this?
I know, an allele isn't a single base... I mean, a gene isn't a single base pair. It is a sequence of base pairs that encodes a protein.
And then an allele must be something...
It's bigger than that. It's like a a bunch of genes, or like it's a it sort of encodes for a phenotype where genes are sort of the lower level below that.
Phenotype being the expression of
Yeah.
the genetic makeup.
Allele one of two or more alternate forms of a gene that arise by mutation and are found at the same place on a chromosome.
Oh, Okay, so an
that high school
allele is a
coming back?
variation on a gene.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can each have genes for head hair, but most of us have dark hair. But if one of us is blonde, I have the blonde allele, you have the brunette allele. Okay, got it.
Okay.
I knew the difference, but I forgot. Okay. But the whole point of this is that evolution is working just... Did he use the phrase blind idiot god yet, or does that come up later in the
That
That was
was-
in the previous sequences when we were
That's
talking
right,
about
yeah. I'm surprised he didn't use it in these two posts, because it's just, you could keep just putting it in glowing neon letters every paragraph, and it would be like, remember, blind idiot, design.
yeah.
Um,
Although like it's a blind idiot only from sort of a human values. Like the whole point of I feel like I kind of feel bad that I don't think we spent enough time on or did enough justice to the evolution as a alien god.
Okay. Well, we got a minute now.
Yeah, it was just like the main point of that one was that this is just the way evolution works has nothing to do with human values or like any kind of values that we can really understand. It just cares about what was it, inclusive reproductive fitness.
Yeah.
And it's a reproductive fitness maximizer,
Yeah.
and that's all it cares about. So it's almost like a rogue AI that just like you gave it one thing and it's going to maximize that, and you could end up having paperclip effects.
Yeah.
But
How many grandchildren will this gene produce?
yeah,
yeah, it's. I mean, yes, a blind and idiot are both kind of loaded terms, but that's
Well,
intentional.
Also, blind is a good term for it as well, because it's not like evolution is intentionally maximizing for how many children will be produced or grandchildren will be produced. It's
kind
just
of a
like,
byproduct of it.
yeah, it's just like,
Existing.
here's a mutation, and then the thing reproduces, and either it dies or it doesn't, and that determines what has more children. But there was never like a goal in mind.
See, what's fun is I left high school knowing a bit about evolution and entered college being educated enough about it to not argue with teachers, but kind of argue with teachers, and not even about like ones that were anti-evolution, but ones that were just like wrong. So I remember one, and it wasn't a biology class. Someone said something about like, oh yeah, there's the species of butterfly that this area was ravaged by wildfires and changed the way that all the trees looked.
Oh,
and this
it wasn't wildfires. I think it was when coal production became really big.
Are you
in
talking
England.
about the peppermouth?
I have no idea, but that sounds right. But
The trees went from being white bark to dark bark just because of all the ash.
yeah, so the butterflies
Industrialization
changed.
made everything black, so these moths that had been white started to turn black.
Yeah, and so the teacher was like, yeah, and that's because there was like this he used evolutionary pressure in a more anthropomorphic sense than it should have been used. And I was like, no, evolution didn't like make them darker because that was a good idea to fit the environment.
All the light ones died.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, yeah, that's just you happen to get dark variants and those ones are more successful because they were harder to find. And he was like, yeah, but there might have been like kind of like a push. I'm like, there's no pushing. There's nothing
Only
to push.
pulling.
There's just massive murder.
There's only pulling. I like
I've
that a
always
lot. I
liked
wish
to
I thought to put it
describe
that way.
evolution as a system of non-random death,
Yeah,
where like
that's the best way to
it's
put
not
it.
it doesn't encapsulate everything that's going on, but like
Because there's also
it
non-random
helps to-
reproducing.
yeah, well it helps to push against the whole sort of grandiose evolution is this force for good. It's like sort of it's like a replacement god. There's this force that just like it pushes you to be better. First of all, better, like by what it makes you like better able to survive in your environment, which is changing all the time, but that doesn't mean you're better. Like there's no evolution that has made an animal better objectively than like the previous state. It's just like the environment's changed. This one's better at surviving in this environment.
And it doesn't
Predators
ever
get-
make an animal better. It just makes the
Yeah.
species better
But like there, you see these like
on average.
pictures of the March of Evolution where it shows like a ape slowly becoming a human, and
Yeah.
it's supposed to be this. It has this like upward trajectory of like. And I just like get pissed off about that because I'm like, evolution doesn't give a shit about making anything better. If it just wants you to have more kids,
It
and
says
it doesn't
value.
want anything. Like it's like
Yeah, it's as valueless as water flowing downhill. Like this
Yeah.
is just what happens.
these are the ones that didn't die.
Yeah.
They were the best at not dying.
Did we already have an episode about you are in Newcomb's problem?
We
I don't
talked
know.
about the double box experiment at some point, I think.
Yeah, but have we talked about the one where the idea is that as the thought has put you inside the boxes?
No.
All right, I kind of want this to be our next episode because it works so well with the evolution thing that we're talking about right now.
I've been trying to ask people what they want to see more of in Bayesian Conspiracy, like just on the Discord, and I just keep hearing more. We want you to talk more about cool stuff that you're excited about, so
Okay.
I'm totally down to talk about a cool thing that you're excited about.
I'm into it.
Okay. Alrighty. Then, okay, we can talk more about that after the show, because right now we should continue on with the actual show. Oh, wait, one last thing about the sequence, not about off-topic stuff, about the sequence itself. He says humans can do things that evolutions probably can't do, period, over the expected lifetime of the universe. As the eminent biologist Cynthia Kenyon once put it at a dinner I had the honor of attending. Ooh, name drop in there, but pretty awesome. One grad student can do things in an hour that evolution could not do in a billion years. According to biologists' best current knowledge, evolutions have invented a fully rotating wheel on a grand total of 3 occasions.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well done. I mean, it is, it's impressive if it, again, freely rotating wheels kind of just happened naturally. That's kind of cool.
That is actually pretty damn
But it's
cool.
like, good for you, evolution. It took you a billion years, but you got it done 3 times. Good on you.
Yeah.
I don't know who Cynthia Kenyon is, but like I never understood why name dropping was gauche. I get it if you're doing it nonstop like Tahani from The Good Place.
Right,
But
yeah.
there, if you happen to say like, I met Richard Dawkins at a conference.
Yeah.
That happened. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on your like incentives for doing that, because like Tahani in The Good Place was just sort of like bringing up people that were famous that she'd hung out with out of context explicitly, so that people would think like, oh wow, you're so cool that you know all these cool people. But if you're bringing it up to be like, hey, I met this cool person and it was awesome, and let me tell you some things about them, or like it's super relevant to the thing we were just talking about, then like whatever, that's just having a conversation.
Every now and then, like if writing workshops come up or Brandon Sanderson or something, I sometimes slip in that, I had dinner with him and he's a really cool guy.
With Brandon Sanderson?
Yeah.
Well, he never told me that.
What?
He wrote the last three Wheel of Time books.
And a lot of other books too that
yeah.
are extremely well.
Yeah.
You didn't know that?
But
I had dinner with
he
him?
read books that I wrote.
Oh,
Or
I
that-
could-
excuse me, he wrote books that I read.
Although that would be much cooler.
That would be cool.
Yeah, but
Seems like Annie Ash needs to name drop more. What I'm taking away.
I
from this.
guess. Okay. Yeah. No, it was like
You guys got
either 3
to
or
hang
4
out
years
with
ago
Robin
now.
Hanson before I was on the show, and I'm still like,
Oh yeah. Weren't you at one of the? No, you weren't in Denver
No.
yet at the time when he visited
No.
us. Yeah.
sad.
Next time he's in the neighborhood. But yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Yeah.
So yes, don't praise evolutions 1 millimeter more than they deserve.
Yeah, this was the thing that I saw happen a lot too back during the evolution wars, where people, again, because it was just, I'm pro science, fuck you. It was a lot like today's conversation, but with different words.
Okay.
And you just made more supportive noises. And it's like, no, evolution is awesome. It does all these things. And I remember people just being super vociferous, like intensely defensive and argumentative in favor of how awesome this is. And it wasn't necessarily just evolution, but everything science. And
Yeah.
it's like, you're kind of fighting the right fight, but you're doing it on the wrong terrain. You don't need to be having this part of the argument.
That's that whole like, there's nothing I hate more than like a bad argument for a side that I agree with.
Yeah.
Because I kept seeing that thing too, where it was like the religionists were sort of coming in with the premise of your God is bad. You're and like, you're really a religion, science.
Mm-hmm.
It has its own things that you have to take on faith, like evolution, and then like you're trying to say that evolution is this God that did all these cool things, and it's just like no, we're trying to say that this is what like evidence has shown has happened and is continuing to happen. We have lots of proof. You could go see the fossils. You could look at genes. We've like and we don't support this though. We're not saying this is the way things should be done. Or like this is our God and we have to accept the way things are done. In fact, like really excited about the possibility of us like working with CRISPR to make some of the dumb decisions that evolution has made less dumb. Or, just getting robot bodies and not having to deal with any of the squishy shit.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Would evolution work if things didn't die of old age? I think it still would, because there's other things that would still kill.
People,
Well, evolution works
prey
because
animals
of
would still be eaten.
reproduction, not because of longevity.
Yeah.
I mean, if you live to be 300, who cares if you're not having kids anymore? There's tortoises and jellyfish and some other animals, crabs, I forget, that don't really have any natural death span. Like, they can just sort of keep living forever, but, like, if they're not reproducing anymore, who cares? Evolution doesn't care.
Yeah, it's about, if you take the gene-centric view, it's just about how many more of these gene delivery vehicles can I create to run around the planet.
I guess the question would be, what I'm trying to get at is, does evolution have an incentive? Is the worst word ever, because again, it's anthropomorphizing. would evolution be less efficient if all individual organisms could continue reproducing and living without a fixed end date?
That's a really cool question. I'd love to do that experiment, but we don't know.
I would have to give it some thought. I can see an argument being made both ways, because on the one hand, if things weren't dying of old age, they would be continuing to consume resources that everyone else is competing over.
It'd be really
Yeah,
hard for the
but
next
if they're-
generation to get a foot in.
Yes, but also if they're like the winners of the current competition, that probably means they're either the biggest or strongest or have the sharpest claws or have the biggest brain. Like, it'd be great if we still had an Einstein or a Feynman around to be having more kids, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure any tigers out there would be like, man, I really wish we still had the biggest, strongest tiger around to make more tiger babies that are big and strong.
That just makes me wonder if, like, Einstein's genes are still around somewhere. I mean, I know that
I'm pretty sure I
they're
heard about
descendants,
it.
right?
Yeah.
But, like, also, I don't know.
How much of it
This
has been
is
reverting
a
back to
goofy
the mean?
question. Like, we definitely probably shouldn't dig Einstein up and harvest his cells,
Maybe we should. I don't.
inseminate people with them.
Well, if they wanted to
Not
volunteer.
against their will, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're selecting genes for your kids, be like, hey, do you want some of Einstein's? We've got Hawking too.
Honestly, as long as we got that technology, maybe just like clone Einstein. Because if you're mixing his genes with someone else's genes, then you're going to have some sub-Einstein genes mixed in there.
Yeah, but then you might, like, want to get some variants in there.
It's true.
Because there's ways that Einstein genes could have been better.
We can get an Einstein, and then we can get like a von Neumann and gender flip one of them, or sex flip one of them, and then mix up their genes, and then see what we get.
Just make an Einstein and a girl Einstein. And
Yeah.
Then, like, of course, they'd fall in love because they're both the same person.
Oh, they'd be like Loki.
Or just do a.
Wait, is that
Dun, dun, dun.
spoilers? Is it too
I
early
think
for
it's-
spoilers?
I don't know. Maybe you could do, like, a spoiler warning.
I'm in favor of doing a Vault-Tec style science experiment where you just get like 150 Einsteins and put them in a vault for a century and see what happens.
And make half of them female Einsteins, though?
No, they just clone themselves.
Oh, okay.
Like the Gary Vault from Fallout New Vegas or 3, I forget which
Was
one.
Gary able to clone himself, though?
He must have been. He was still running around.
Have either of you, have I managed to convince either of you to read the Bobiverse books?
I want to
This is
read
the
them.
premise.
Yeah,
Like,
I've heard it's
this
a lot of
person
fun.
is literally a von Neumann probe, and it's this dude who is like a good programmer and kind of a cool guy, and gets resurrected from cryo, and yeah, it is
That's the premise.
uploaded, put into a von Neumann probe, and like go forth and find colonization targets for Earth, which is having some troubles, and make more bobs, and because of quantum randomness, the clones are not quite the same. Some of them are just like Bob, but a bit more serious, and then some of them are just psychotic. And it's delightful. I love it.
Cool.
It sounds like they're crazy, and they might say, if they were talking to each other, hey, you're crazy like us.
Oh, because that is the topic today.
That was a good segue.
It was okay.
Really quickly before we move on, our topics, our less wrong sequences for next time are natural selection, speed limit, and complexity bound, which is one, and beware of Stephen Jay Gould, which is the other.
That second one
never
doesn't ring a
trusted that
bell.
guy.
I don't know if I read the second one.
Okay.
I might have at some point, but I don't know if I've read these in order. All right, have fun.
All right.